10 best non-fiction books I've ever read, 10 through 6. Adam Hochschild's King Leopold's Ghost. This is the story of the Belgian Congo. The King of Belgium turned an entire country into his personal slave colony for his own personal financial gain. A chilling and gripping story that everybody needs to know about 19th century Africa. The Looming Towers, the story of the events that led up to 9/11. Different parts of the US security forces all have different bits of the story of how to prevent this terrible atrocity from happening, but because they were so determined to protect their own interests, their own turf wars, their own rivalries, and their own egos, they wouldn't communicate with each other, they wouldn't cooperate, and it led to the tragic events of 9/11. Gulag by Anne Applebaum, the gripping and horrifying story of the Soviet penal system. Lenin established a system of slave labor that was then perfected by Stalin in the 1920s and 30s. It was the pinnacle of oppression and a system based on slavery and fear. The gripping story of the Soviet Gulag prison system. Mafia by John Dickey. Post-World War II, the Italian Mafia sunk its roots deep into the Italian state. First, they were enabled and empowered by the government in Rome to fight the forces of communism. Then they took control of large parts of Italian state and Italian society. By the time people realized it was a huge problem, it was almost too late. The incredible bravery of many people, journalists, politicians, police officers, judges, who had to fight, and many of them lost their lives to uproot the terrible cancer that was the Mafia in the very heart of the Italian state. The Last Emperor of Mexico by Edward Shawcross. An Austrian duke is made into the Emperor of Mexico by the Emperor of France. What could possibly go wrong? Literally everything. This is a gripping and tragic story of actually quite a nice guy. The more I read this, the more I liked Maximilian. The more of a contradiction that he had to deal with. The conservatives wanted to go back to the days of the Spanish Empire. The liberals, who he actually sympathized with more, wanted to transform society but didn't want him to be part of it. A gripping and brilliant story, and if you want to know about 19th century Mexico, this is a great place to start. All of these books are available. You can click the link on my bio. You can follow Ancient to Recent for more recommendations and follow along for part 2, 5 through 1 of the best non-fiction books I have ever read.